Good morning, Seller Sessions. This is Isabella Hamilton, and I have with me today on this beautiful Monday, Miss Crystal Little of Stacks, and she's a surprise guest, and I'm very excited to get to know you as well and my audience. Welcome, Crystal.
Well, thank you, Isabella, so much for having me, and definitely a surprise. However, just really excited to be able to talk to everybody out there today and really get to know you this morning as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. This never happened to me where I had to somebody else had to fill in for somebody, but then I looked at your bio and my mouth dropped. I was like, who is this lady? I wish I would have known about you before so we get to like talk. But as we were saying before we started, everything always happens for a reason. So would you please do us the honor and tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the great things that you achieved in this lifetime?
Well, my pleasure. Well, Crystal Little here, and I am Chief of Staff for Stacks, which was formerly Fat Merchant. We did a wonderful rebranding as our company has grown in the last year. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the company. But my role at the organization is really to help the company be as smooth as possible. And so I find that, I fit into a lot of different areas, and whether that's supporting our marketing team or our sales team or our products, and really being able to tie so much of it together. Our organization just has grown so much, and you need someone to be able to make sure all the dominoes are falling correctly. And so that's really what my role is within Stacks itself. And my background, I actually have a heavy background in both technology and marketing, where I used to run marketing and operations for a company that did e-commerce in the CPG space. And I found that I really liked numbers, and found that with our customers, I was focusing on ROI optimizations and figuring out how they can get higher sell-through of their products for dollars put in for marketing, and somehow meandered my way into really owning that space. And that has allowed for me to now take that to the level where I'm able to help guide our organization, because I've done it before and I've really kind of had my feet into the, in it. But came from marketing. Prior to that, I did outside software sales, and knocking on doors was a thing. I know it's not really a huge thing right now with a pandemic, but I started my career being a road warrior and learning the value of relationships and how to sell when you got to find your own leads and you got to cultivate your own network, and really kind of that grunt work. Mm-hmm. Then to my marketing background after that, and it's really allowed for me to put a lot more intelligence behind a lot of our operations here so that we can run more efficiently and continue to scale at such a incredible rate. So a little bit about me and my background.
That is incredible. I had no idea. So door-to-door sales, I don't get many guests that have experienced that, but I feel like those that have just have that little extra fearless emotion, because you've already done it. You've already been turned down so many times that it builds you up into this strong person that there's absolutely nothing else that could come at you. Do you feel like that's what happened in your early stage?
Completely. I can tell you how many no's I've gotten, how many people have not even given me the chance and just shut the door right in my face. But every time that happens, every no is just getting you closer to a yes. And when you start to recognize that no's are actually great because it's giving you direction on where you should be focusing, then it became kind of exciting. And also, you are the owner of your own fate. And so in those moments, I didn't have the opportunity to, rest on, well, lead flow is slow today or things like that. No, I had to find a new door to go knock on. And so there's a certain amount of grit that I give so much respect to anybody who's had to truly do outside sales and cold call and just kind of figure it out. It's definitely not easy, but I wouldn't have changed anything about my path whatsoever.
Do you remember your first day doing that? Knocking on doors?
Yes. So the software I used to sell was for courthouses. And so all of my customers would be different counties or municipalities. And I was so young. And I remember first time walking into the courthouse and they were like, "Why are you here?" um, and I'm like, "Well, I would like to talk to someone in your IT team." And just got the total runaround. And what's funny is I could have walked away and I was wildly embarrassed. I had no idea what I was doing, had no idea who I was talking to. And I didn't. I stayed there and figured out if that person wouldn't get me to the right place, then let me go try somewhere else. And charm goes a long way.
Yeah.
And was able to actually get connected with someone who turned out to be a customer after years. It took a while. We have long sales cycles, but ended up turning into one of my customers. And it just proved that just because you get a no, also sometimes that means it's just no from that person. You just got to find a different person.
Unbelievable. I love this story so much. So that wasn't on salary or anything. It was purely commission.
Completely commission based. So you are your own captain of your destiny, and it was easy to not make money, but when you really want it, you figure it out.
Right.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that it gives you that option. I used to do real estate many, many years ago, and I did feel like, that is really my own thing, even though you work with a broker or an office in some cases, but still is the sky's the limit. Not even that. There's absolutely no limit. Like if you truly want it, like you can make as much as you want. You can make as little as you want. So I think once you master the skill set of being personal, because I don't want to necessarily call it sales. I mean, yes, we call it sales, but it's so much deeper than just sales. Is about getting to know somebody and getting to know, and first of all, really appreciate what you're selling as well. I could never sell anything that I don't believe in. So it would be extremely hard. So I put what I loved with what I wanted them to love. So when you do that, it's like it's an amazing experience. But sales is definitely something that, if you were to master one skill set, it would definitely be sales. Would you
I
say that that's accurate?
totally agree. And whether you are sales in a commissionable capacity or you are just sales because you need to work with other people, we are all in sales.
Of
Every one of
course.
us is in sales. And so it's funny because I hear sometimes people who are like, "Oh, I'm just not a good salesperson." And I'm like, "No, that's not true." Either, to your point, you don't believe in the product, or you just haven't understood the benefit back out. Because once you believe in your product or service or whatever you're representing, and you understand how it makes an impact on someone, sales is just the connecting of the two pieces. And
Right.
you just got to find that for you. And whether it's, again, products or services, or whether it's just something that you truly feel passionate about from like a personal perspective, once you find that, it's just a merriment, and sales becomes a conduit. You are simply introducing someone with a need to a way to solve it. And it's actually kind of beautiful when you realize how many people you're truly helping
Yeah.
when you're doing sales correctly.
And you don't have to use that in a sales position. You use that in everything. I don't know if you have children. I have a 5-year-old. Like I have to convince him for things all the time. Like I'm selling to him every day, and he sells a lot to me all the time. Mommy, I want two toys. I'm like, no, we're only getting one. But can we
Yeah.
please have two toys? Like they're relentless. And it's like it's almost like wanting to be that childlike personality. It's like sometimes
Mhm.
we have to bring that back. There's a lot that they they can teach us about persistence and never giving up.
I was just going to say, children are master negotiators because
Right.
they also don't have a world of experience to tell them no and self eliminate the possibilities. Children go into things with, "Why can't we do this?" I mean, it may follow with 100 why questions, but they don't have this preconceived notion that this didn't work last time, so not I
Mhm.
won't do it again. No, they go out there with just eyes wide open.
Yeah.
And I see so much in just a professional capacity where people tend to do that, where they think, this didn't work before, so it can't work now. Reality is your approach didn't work before. If we change the approach, the outcome could change too. But we oftentimes will assume that we know what that end result's going to be. And so many times people don't ever get started.
Wow. What would you say it's a solution for that? Like, how can somebody that has taken that too hard their whole lifetime, like how do you change that? Where do you start to analyze this and to become different? Because a lot of people are stuck in that mindset. Like all these people said no, so I'm never going to try again. Like, where do you start?
Most of the time, so in that, I would start with saying, first and foremost, acknowledge why you're thinking that. Okay. Where did it come from? Did it come from an experience? Did it come from an anecdotal story I heard from someone else's experience? And like, why am I putting a guard on something that, quite frankly, I should be trying? And then once you realize where it's coming from, it's really easy to start to change some of the scenarios. So I tried something. So I try a marketing program and I try a certain technique to try to sell my product and it doesn't work. Well, it's not that the marketing didn't work. It's not that the concept didn't work. Maybe your messaging was off. Maybe it was the wrong audience. Maybe it didn't have enough of a marketing spend behind it to reach enough people. Start to look and say, okay, what could have been the contributing factor to why this became the outcome? And then start to make small changes. And what you start to see is that you can't just throw everything out the window. Instead, let's make a small movement so that we can figure out what will work in this scenario. And it's just having an honest answer to and an honest self-reflection of, I tried such and such, it didn't work. What about that didn't work? And let's change that versus, oh, well, I'm just going to get out and never do anything again, because that's not going to solve anything either.
Right. And you still do that after so many years of experience.
Completely. And it's iterations. And we talk about that a lot with most things. And especially because, so our company is 8 years old. And in that time, we have just had so much growth and so much scaling. And if all we did is worry about getting things perfect every single time, I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now. Instead, you got to have a little bit of risk and you have to have a little confidence that I'm going to have things that may not pan out. And I'm going to have things that didn't work perfectly like I had imagined. That's okay, because we're pushing forward, and that's called progress. And you can't get to the end result unless you figure out the way to get there. And that happens through trial and error. So sometimes we may launch a product or we may try to roll something out, and we all have a very honest conversation that, guys, this is my thesis. We're going to get this live and then we're going to adjust. And iterations and creating versions of, versioning against things is just really, really important. And it also allows for you to not feel the weight of having to get everything perfect every single time. You know it's going to change.
Oh my God, this is so great. Thank you for the insight into that. We tend to look at people that, have made it, unquote, and, we tend to think, they've always been perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them, which is why they got to these positions. And, the more I get to spend time with really bright minds and really, really successful people, I realize that, most of us have all started at the same point, and what kept us going is those mistakes. Keep surpassing them and keep going towards your goal. I was in a room yesterday with a lot of billionaires, which it doesn't happen all the time. It's just I was blessed enough to participate in this mastermind. And this man, Bobby, went on stage and he was just saying how he quit school in ninth grade. Ninth.
Wow.
Never went to school again, started working at a restaurant, he really wanted to make it. So I think he's about maybe 50 or 60 now. So, when he was in ninth grade, life was completely different then. But he kept buying this classified which now you can find him all the way everywhere on the internet. How to make money with this, how to make money with that. So he got addicted by ordering all these packages all the time with all these secrets, but he never took action on any of that. So he kept buying, buying, and then he met his future wife, and she said, "Listen, Bobby, why don't you just like actually open one and actually follow through instead of keep buying?" And he's like, maybe I should do that. But anyway, that was the beginning of his career. So they got into real estate and they just kept buying properties. No, absolutely no help from anyone, no loans, no anything, just by hard work. And he just recently sold one of his company, for $1 billion. So it was, and he got on stage and you could tell he was so passionate. He was literally yelling at us, like, "Stop getting distracted. You are getting distracted." Somebody, because, at this mastermind is pretty, as I said, high quality. So they would bring in different speakers, like Mike Tyson was there and he was amazing, and all these speakers, but one of them was like on crypto. And I think Bobby, it was almost embarrassing because Bobby was like, "You know what? You guys keep getting distracted. You want to get into crypto. You want to get into this. You want to get into that. Reinvest everything in your company. Keep growing your company." And I was like, "Oh my God, he's talking to me." But it's just, it was such a powerful moment for myself in those 3 days, because it kind of brought me back to that focus. And remember, there will be issues and problems in your life, and as long as you keep on moving forward, that's what brings you to success. I mean, Bobby, I don't even think he finished ninth grade. Like, imagine. It's just to show you how far people can go by determination, hard work, and focus. You don't have to have an IQ of 197, um or have a lot of money. You can become who you want to become. So anyway, that was a side story from my weekend
I
that just
love it.
me. But I would love for you to talk a little bit about Stacks, formerly Fed Merchant, because a lot of people will probably know it by that name. So, when did you start there? What made you start working there? And just a little insight into that journey for you.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been with Fat Merchant when it was Fat Merchant since 2018. So going on 3 years, which we joke around in this company, a month is worth a quarter. So it's just how fast our evolution has been. And when I started, we were maybe 50 people large, and now we're over 200. We've gone international, and we started on the premise, and in fact, Sanira Madani is our CEO and founder, and she started the organization after selling merchant services, so credit card processing. Anytime you have to swipe a card or take a card online, it's the back end for that capability. And she was also a door-to-door salesperson. So, there's a
It
trend
all makes
there.
sense now. It all makes sense now.
Yeah. It takes the grit. But yeah, so she started selling door to door. And at the time, there was only one model, and it was, if you take a transaction, it's 3% of your transaction volume, and that was it. And she kind of had the epiphany that, why don't we help business owners be able to actually control their own costs? And we're not going to add any percent. We'll charge you a subscription like a Netflix, and you can use as much as you want. You can use as little as you want. And now you as a business owner are able to control your fees and really understand how to be able to, put some guardrails there. Well, that was not a well-received concept by her employers when she went and said, "Hey, I have this great idea that we should potentially think about." And so they laughed her away. And, it's funny because anytime
And thank God they did.
I know. And
Yeah.
so high performers tell me I can't do it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'll just show you.
All right.
So
And I
yeah,
won't work for you. And I won't work for you anymore. And I'll start building my own company that's going to be better than all the other companies out there.
that's exactly what happened. And, you put anybody who has a ton of motivation and a ton of just vision, and you're unstoppable. And so that's how Fat Merchant was born, where we became the first credit card processor with a subscription-based model. And so the great thing about that is not only are we helping business owners, but we're able to really create relationships. So we're not just a commodity. We want to be your technical and your technology partner to help you learn how to be educated in your business and how to improve it. So she started the company, and again, after so much time, we've grown so much. And so earlier this year, we've taken the plunge and we have rebranded ourselves as Stacks. And so,
I assume that was scary. Like, what was that like? What
oh,
was
it was
that?
very scary. Yes.
Mm,
It was scary, but also it's that growth. And it was kind of exciting because for so long we were Fat Merchant, and like that we had such a good namesake, and we'll
yeah.
always be Fat Merchant at heart.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. We'll always bleed orange here. But you realize that if you want to become that next billion-dollar company, we need to play the part. And so it was a strategic decision for us to say what's gotten us here won't get us there. And it's time for us to elevate our brand, which also has allowed for us to really become more present in larger markets. And so we've had some recent acquisitions that have been brought into our product portfolio, which has accelerated our growth even more. And it was very scary because you kind of lose your identity for a minute. Will people even know who we are? Will our customers get spooked and then leave? And so we definitely had a lot, and there was so many conversations around, is this the right time? And at the end of the day, we knew that we were building something so much larger than where we were, that it was an investment in that future growth. And since we've done the rebrand, it's reinvigorated our team here.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
feel like they're part of this like super magical rocket ship that we're building to go to the moon. And it's created such a huge amount of energy
Mm,
internally, externally, and we feel that we are the next fintech unicorn. I
mhm.
fully believe it in my heart of hearts. And we now have a brand that represents all of this that we've been building. So very
Yeah.
exciting, very scary, but
Yeah. It's
we're
it's it's a great name, and there is power in a name, and there comes so much change when you change a name. And just like you said, the team it's excited now. It's like we're part of a new thing, even though it's the same, but it's like it's that vision. So I definitely understand that, and it can be scary. I battle with that a lot sometimes in my head, and all these battles happen in my head. With changing things in my business as well. And I'm like, oh, if I do that, like, I wonder what the clients will say. So it's like it's all these battles. And once you decide on, you see your goal, you see your vision, and as long as you like charge towards it, I feel like everything else will fall into place. And most people don't want to make that decision because of all these internal battles that we have. If I change the name, will people just cancel their subscriptions? Will they think we're doing something? Will they, like, all these questions that maybe most people won't even care, but it's like we are the ones that are battling with this. So definitely Stacks. I like it. I like Stacks myself. But Fat Merchant was definitely a great name as well, and very, very powerful, very well known.
Mhm.
But I think people can get used to a name such as Stacks. So I think it was a pretty good decision. Was that like a long process to come up with that name, or like who was behind this genius creation?
Well, I have to give full credit to Sanira. She
Yeah.
truly is a visionary here. And, one of their goals is we've historically been a credit card processing company. And like I mentioned before, we want to be a technology partner. And
Mhm.
so, yes, credit card processing is the commodity, but how can we help business owners be smarter with what they're doing? Whether that's supporting and showing ROI analysis, whether that's showing them, sale and sell through, so they understand what products are where. We do a lot of like time of day. So we do analysis so that people can understand how to best staff to support their business. down to integrated communication so that you can have a better relationship with your consumer and keep an eye on your reputation online. And really just like, how can we make business owners just lives a little easier so that they can focus on what they do well, which is producing and selling their products, and how can we be that partner? And so that's been a big move for the organization for probably the last couple years. And with stacks, the concept of this, the name of this is that within the tech space, tech stacks are a very common thing. And so those will be your different products that you sell. Like if you have like Microsoft as an example, their Microsoft Office tech stack will include Word and it'll include Excel. But we wanted to be that same version so that people resonated with the fact that we're not just single prong. And in fact, we represent a whole portfolio of products that are designed to help you out as a business owner. And so our technology stacks empower our business owners to be able to make better decisions, make quicker decisions, and really focus so that they can produce more and that they can service their customers easier too. So that's the background on the company name. And also it just looks really good written.
No, it sounds good, and I definitely think it was a good decision. Scary if I put myself in those shoes, but as long as the vision is there and you know where you're moving towards, I think that's fantastic. So, are you expecting Stacks to grow to a certain number of employees by the end of the year? Like, where is Stacks going from here?
Oh, we're going straight to the moon, my friend.
I believe it.
Yeah. So for this year, I mean, we're continuing. We've grown so much even since the rebrand, which went live in April. So it's only been a few short months, and we've already seen such major growth. So our goal is to create the next billion-dollar organization. And so we have a path to get there within the next 2 years. If it takes that long, I will be shocked. But we want to show that we are able to create a company that can reach that billion-dollar status, but not at the expense of our customers. And instead, creating a model so that they can better manage their own businesses. And if we can help them, then inherently we will receive our goals and we will achieve our goals. And so it's a Zig Ziglar concept. You help enough people get what they want, you're going to get what you want. And so
yes. And speaking of motivational quotes, I know you and Sunira are part of the CEO school. Would you tell us a little bit about that for those who don't know what that is?
Yes. So as a CEO, as Sunira's CEO, and myself in the C-suite, it's a very lonely place sometimes for women up at the top there. And while we are 100% chipping away at stereotypes and paradigms, there's still a lot of work to be done. And one of the realizations Sunira had as she was really building this business is how few women are actually getting to that $1 million status. And in fact, only 2% of companies that break $1 million in revenue are women owned. And there's no reason for that number. I obviously, as a woman, I feel that there's so many of us who are so intelligent, and yet we haven't been able to eclipse that. And so that was the concept of CEO School, is that we want to help make it so more women exceed the $1 million mark, and that a measly 2% isn't a thing. And it's just a silly relic of the past. And so CEO School really helps business owners, women business owners, scale their organizations. And, they could be at 6 figures, they could be at 5, they could just be starting out. But learning the tips and the tricks and the ways to manage your team and ways to go to market and how the strategy works. And let's talk through pricing and let's practice our sales pitch, and really just being that mentor so that they can then feel confident to take off any self-limiting beliefs and help us chip away at this percent. So that's the goal of CEO School. And just, it's so amazing to be a part of an organization that not only has belief systems like this, but then is willing to put their time and efforts to actually make it happen. So,
and then you attract all these women that you didn't even know they exist.
Yes,
right? So what
exactly.
is the program like? Tell us a little bit about that. Um, is it live events? Are there courses? Like what's
No,
this?
yeah, great. Yeah. So the live events have been a little on hold as of late.
Of
However,
course.
yeah, we
Mhm.
actually just had our first live event since COVID, and so that was really excited. The podcast itself and CEO School started in the middle of COVID,
Mhm.
where there was extra time and we were all stuck at home. And so, how can we have interaction and how can we reach out to people and make an impact? And so, it was pretty evident that there was just such a gap in this space, and so the CEO school just started as a podcast with the intention of just being able to speak to people. And quickly people raise their hand, how can I get more? And so, it's funny that in moments of, uncertainty, you start to find your path and the realization that people are looking for assistance and people want to help and people want to be helped. And when you really allow for people to exceed, it's just amazing what happens. And so we have a couple different versions. So, for instance, we do have a mastermind where it goes through and it's a lot more in depth and it's very hands on. And it's really meant for people who are looking to take that like next plunge up. But then we also have regular sessions and weekly planning sessions where we'll get on a Zoom and you get more of that group style coaching, as well as access to a ton of resources. And everything is designed to really empower women in this space by having a network of other driven women to be able to kind of be your behind the scenes.
That's
So
beautiful. So are you a coach as well in the mastermind and in the program?
I work alongside Sunira with some of those. So on
Mhm.
occasion, yes. More so because I've stepped in as chief of staff, it's allowed for her to be able to take a little bit of a step back and be able to help scale that. And so
Right.
she and I are kind of like a tag team duo where we're building this business, but we really want to help people at the same time. So
I
how
know, I'm so
can
amazed that you're doing both at the same time because both are so big and so crucial in everything that you do. Do you have a lot of people helping you with the CEO school? Like how many people on that team? Or it's all kind of interrelated with staff?
No, we have a dedicated team there. And so there's someone who definitely runs like our marketing, runs our social and things like that. But when it comes to the actual content delivery, none of that's outsourced and that's all us. And again, most prominently is Samira delivering those. But I kind of alluded to this earlier. It's funny because when you want something so bad, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how this has turned out. And the desire to empower women and provide a platform for them, it can't come at the expense of our business. And so we had to figure out how can we make both happen. And so that means recognizing you have to invest in resources to create more bandwidth, and more team members. It's also recognizing that they are not mutually exclusive and we can bring them together and have, not like work life balance, but work life integration and work and, philanthropy integration, and let's bring it together. And that's actually a big piece. So at Stacks and with the rebrand, we decided that we wanted to take a bigger approach to our impact within our communities. And so we decided that this was our opportunity to reintroduce ourselves to the world. And when we did, we introduced a program called Stacks Cares. And one of the pillars of Stacks Cares, we actually have three. One of them is children in technology. And so mentoring our youth and specifically mentoring them within the tech space. We have another pillar, and this is more silly than anything else, is about food. We all love eating here. We're a big food company. So whether that's feeding the hungry or helping make sure our families in our neighborhoods have, food on their table, it's really important. And then the third one was women in business. And so those are the three. And the women in business allows for us to be able to integrate the two together so that we are still pushing forward on the philanthropy end of the house and making that impact, but recognizing that we want to do it in such a way that still is genuine to ourselves and is authentic to our total goals.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Um, just getting to in this position to where Fat Merchant now Stacks has gotten, and then be able to give back. I think that's, it shows so much, not only on Sanira's character, but the whole business model. Like it really just expands this humbleness that then one has, because yes, now you're extremely successful, but how can I give back? And you guys do that in on such a scale. I mean, I've been following CEO School for for a while now, and I've actually heard of Sanira from my really good friend. They're really good friends, and when I
Mhm.
met him like 3 years ago or four, he kept telling me, you have to meet this lady. You have, she's like you. And she's like, but obviously on a much larger scale. And she just, doesn't take no for an answer. She just goes and get it. And for me to see the transition from when I first heard of Sanira and where she was to now, doing this philanthropy and act and giving back to, and it's nothing short of exactly what I thought she was going to become. Because it's, yes, it's very nice to be successful, but it's also very nice and humbling to be able to give back. And I think CEO School does that. Do you have a lot of men in CEO School, or is mostly women?
So great question. It is actually mostly women.
Mhm,
And in terms of our customers, it's exclusively women. And
mhm,
that was a conscious choice. And I recognize that sometimes making choices means that you aren't going to sell as much
mhm,
and that your audience is a lot more tight. But with that, you substitute quantity with quality. And so rather than trying to have, a million customers and have all these people, no, we have a goal. And that goal is to focus in on this specific demographic. And that means saying no to other things. But once you're clear on what your goal is and your why, it doesn't become a sacrifice. It actually becomes just focus. It focus on what you're actually trying to achieve. So we do have some men that help, but it's more on the operational side and behind the scenes.
mhm,
Otherwise, truly is the focus of this is to help other women exceed and really find their own, and find that confidence level so that they can take those self-limiting beliefs, throw them out the window, and build their own billion-dollar organizations.
mm. Do you ever bring in like guest speakers, different people who get to inspire others? Like, who have you had that was just like shocking? And
My favorite. So Dr. Laura Gallaher. So she is a corporate psychologist and she worked with Fat Merchant for prior before I started working here. And she now is a major contributor to CEO School. But what she specializes in is understanding how people think and how they behave in a business setting. And as as leaders and as entrepreneurs, you're sometimes a business owner and you're sometimes a psychologist. Uh,
a lot of the times, a
yes.
psychologist. Yes.
And see, a lot of what she brings to the table is like learning how to be a good listener or learning how to understand how your natural tendencies are prohibiting communication, down to learning how to just have your own voice. And just I feel so much of business is in your head.
Yeah.
Kind of what you said earlier, where some of like your fears are all just swirling around your head and you realize like it's unfounded. But when that you're the number one person that talks to yourself the most. So it's not, it's going to happen. But yeah, so she's a great speaker that we've brought in. We've brought in a bunch of others, different capacities, whether it's marketing or whether it's sales. But she's just one that I hope you do get a chance to check her out. It's just really, really good information on how people think and how to be able to be most effective when you communicate back to people.
Oh, that is wonderful. I will definitely check her out, and I would love to attend your next live event. When do you have an idea when that will happen?
I know we're currently planning for it, so the date should be released, but it's happening within the next couple months. So
Oh, that's wonderful. And do
yeah,
you do it in Florida?
yes, yeah, actually at
Okay.
our Stocks headquarters. So
Okay.
yeah, that was another, and this is the integration piece of it all. When we set up and we created our Stacks headquarters, we specifically created training spaces. And
Mm.
so whether that's for use for women to come in on weekends and us to do masterminds, or whether it's for us to bring in kids and do a coding boot camp with them,
Mm.
it's all, we wanted to make a space that was a community environment so that people can come in and look at us as education as well. And so at our headquarters here in downtown Orlando.
Wow, that's beautiful. And Crystal, you've been how do I say that you've been so successful for so long. You just keep saying, I'm moving forward, I'm moving forward. What advice would you give women who are fearful of this high level positions such as the ones you achieved? How do we do that? What advice do you have?
Man. So my number one advice is most people also don't know.
Mm.
What I find is so oftentimes people are so afraid because either it's a fear of imposter syndrome, or it's a fear of, well, I've never really done this before, so how am I the qualified person? Or do I really deserve a seat at that table when I don't know if I'm at that level of experience? And the fact is, most people are faking it. And, that's, you got to kind of just recognize that your natural instincts, and especially as women, our natural instincts are really good. And like really good.
I love
So,
that. I love that. Most people are faking it. Remember that. Okay, I'll remember. Okay.
but the reality is everybody has to start somewhere. And so no matter who you are, no matter what table you're at, no matter how high level of a conversation you're in, every single person in that room also started at the same place you did. We all didn't know what we were doing in certain things. And just some people have been blessed at being able to have the experience to get them to that next level. But the reality is we're all kind of just figuring it out as we go. And so putting any sort of preconceived notions aside is really difficult. But once you start to do that, and once you start to recognize that I don't have to have all of the answers, I just need to have enough courage to ask the questions, even if I feel it's a stupid question, because it's not. And, what you end up finding, what I find, and it's happened over and over again, and this is just this reinforcement to me, is sometimes when I ask a question about something that in the moment I feel like I should probably know this,
Yeah.
most people are like, thank you, I'm so glad you asked that.
They think the same. They
Uh-huh.
think the same, asking questions, even if we think, oh my God, somebody's gonna judge us. We should have known this. And having, the courage to do that without thinking you're going to be judged, or, my boss will think this and that, because it's all in our head. Again, we are stopping ourselves.
You're
That's such a great advice. Such a great advice. What are some challenges that you overcome in your high level position that you can think of?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is just being able to juggle it all.
Mm.
Because we're growing so fast, and this is also the type A in me coming out, but I want to do it all too.
Yeah.
And, you recognize that, and this is it's self-talk I give to myself very often, is that I can still get to my end result. It just doesn't necessarily have to be me who does it. And
Mhm.
so whether it's delegating down, whether it's recognizing that, I can just step out and let someone spread their wings. And, it may not be the version that I would have done, or it may not be the end result I would have done, but did we get to the goal? We sure did. And so you can create an impact without it having to be, me physically or you physically doing this. And I do think that so often, especially in the higher you get in roles, and you want to kind of prove yourself and show I can do this. And what happens is people end up taking on way more than they should. And at a certain point, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. And in fact, being able to leverage your team and being able to recognize when I need to say, you know what, I do need help, or
Mhm.
I am going to hire this company so that I don't have to do this and I have an outsourced partner. And just saying, I'm still going to get to the result. I don't have to be the one who's not sleeping and not taking care of myself to get there. So it is hard. However, this is how you do more. And what I
Mm.
also find is most people want to help. And so by not including others, you're actually limiting their ability to be a contributor. And to a certain extent, like, especially as a leader, I want my team and I want everybody here to feel like they're part of something. And to do that, you got to include them. So it is hard because you want to do it all, and I want to do it all right now.
Yeah.
But being able to balance it and recognize that no, we have a whole team, and we're a team. We're a one team, which happens to be one of our core values, and every one of us lives and breathes this. So just
Yeah.
being able to leverage your resources.
Exactly. And I hold on to like, it's just me and I know everything and nobody can do it the way I can. And this is a problem I see in a lot of us entrepreneurs because, we start businesses and then it's very hard for us to let go. And like you said, leverage, the knowledge of other people. How do you balance that? What is your day like? Do you have a schedule that you follow? Like, some people, swear by waking up at 5 a.m. and run and cold showers and meditate. Like, what is your version of that?
So I am one of a 5 a.m.er.
Uh-huh.
I
Okay.
enjoy starting my day. Yeah, I enjoy starting my day. I have
Mhm.
also
Great.
I've learned in my time that if I don't exercise in the morning, I won't.
Mhm.
And rather than beating myself up and trying to, figure out some other way, I've recognized that I enjoy that. I personally enjoy being able to wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is exhaust myself. And so whether that's running, this morning, my husband and I took just a 3-mile brisk walk. I wanted nice low impact. It's really hot here in Florida, so that was enough.
Mhm.
But it allows for me to have my start of my day be focused on something healthy.
Mm.
And during that time, I either read a book, an audiobook, I listen to a podcast. In fact, I was checking out one of yours recently where you were talking with, and I forget the gentleman's name, but he was also in Africa with you.
Yeah,
And
yes, yes.
yeah, and so it's just so fascinating to me to kind of hear about different people's perspectives, and it's bread for your head.
Yeah.
So I enjoy starting my day early, getting a good exercise in, putting something to get me in the right mindset, so that when I do come into the office, I've already had my morning. I've already centered myself, and I'm able to come in and then give 100% of myself to the team here. And it's not at the expense of my own like physical health.
Mm. Do you meditate?
I do meditate. Yes. It's definitely been a practice, and
Mm.
it's something that with time becomes a lot easier. And I just do 15 minutes. I have a little app on my phone, and so it's a little guided meditation. But what I find is I leave that so centered and just calm.
Wow. I
Mhm.
love that. I try to talk about that a lot, and for the longest time, for me, Crystal, meditation, is I want everything to be perfect. So I want to learn how to meditate, and I want to do it the perfect way. And until I learn how to be perfect, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Which, how are you ever going to be perfect at something if you don't practice? And it's always been in my mind, like, okay, if I don't have 20 minutes, I'm just not going to do it at all. And lately I've tried to do the opposite of that, where what, I don't have 20 minutes, but I have a minute right now. So like, even at the mastermind that I went to, it was like a 3-day thing, and it just so much energy from people, and energy's in, energy's out. And for a moment I felt drained, and I literally, like, I had my glasses on and I just closed my eyes for 1 minute. That's all I needed. And I just dropped in. And this little things made me realize, I don't have to have that 20 minutes per
Yeah.
se, as long as I keep coming back to myself, keep centering. And, even if you don't have a meditation per se, just by being grateful and saying thank you, I realize that that is enough. It's
Mhm.
a lot. It's just by saying thank you. Like, we tend to think that we need to do this, and this, when really it's much simpler than that. So
Yep.
meditation, it's incredible. It can change lives.
It really can. And I'm glad you touched on the gratitude piece too. That's powerful. That is really powerful because you get what you give. And if you project gratitude, it's just amazing how problems aren't problems. And
Yeah.
things are really easy to just get past because a grateful heart is an open heart. And, in times of stress, that is a technique I use where if I feel very overwhelmed or that things just aren't going right, just stop what you're doing and write 3 things that you are grateful for. And as soon as you create that, everything else just becomes silly. And it's so easy to just get past it because you're going into this acknowledging that, there are good things. And I may just be in a rut or I may just be in my own head here. And once I get out of that, like look at how many amazing things are around. And it's so great to focus on that. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, it's all of my mindset for me. Just staying in that state of gratefulness, has brought me into levels of success that I never expected. Coming from Romania and living the life that I lived to the life that I live now. I mean, I was able to like shake hands with Mike Tyson yesterday, and I was like, I used to watch him on TV. Like, how is this even real? So recognizing even the little moments, just like being able to like really enjoy your favorite sandwich or something. Like, it doesn't have to be always Mike Tyson. I mean, this is once in a while opportunity, but it can be the little things like, wow, thank you for giving me a very sunny day today, or a rainy day. I really miss that. Whatever it is, there's always something out there that you can say thank you for. And if you don't have anything to say thank you for, you can be thankful that you woke up again another day. And
Exactly.
that's worth more than anything money can ever buy. The fact that we are alive to live another day.
Which in itself is the most precious gift in the entire world. So
Absolutely. Being alive is pretty cool, Crystal.
yeah.
I don't know what happens when we leave, but being able to be in society, we're such we love people, like even those who say, we're very introverted. We could never live in a solitary just one person. We need people around us. So even I'm grateful for all my friends. I'm grateful, I'm grateful for you being here, and I'm grateful for everything that we have created. Before we go today, would you recommend your favorite book or anything that our listeners can go and look up, or anything? And of course, please give me your website for the CEO school as well.
Yeah. So first CEO school is literally ceoschool.com. And
Great name.
it
Great
is
name.
a phenomenal name. How like there's a little bit of me that's like, I don't know how you got this or what miracles you pulled, but just like
Right.
so yeah, ceoschool.com. And my number one like recommended book. So it's old. So I'll give you an old one and then a new one that I was just
Mhm.
absolutely loving. But my number one always is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think that this has to be required reading for every single person. It teaches you how to create relationships. And at the end of the day, like that's what we're doing is we're making relationships around here.
I
Uh,
love that. I was looking because I have it either on this shelf or this shelf. They're all like right here. I was trying to like pull it as you were speaking, but great book.
yeah.
Absolutely. Great.
And it's one of those like you should read it every quarter
Yes, yes. You
as a
don't have to.
reminder.
Yes. Yeah. I do that with Think and Grow Rich. That's one of my favorite books. And I have to reread it every once in a while. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
did I miss that? Did I not see that before? Like, where did that come from? So I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Well, then you might like this because I was going to say my other book is actually 3 Feet from Gold, which is it's a spinoff from Think and Grow Rich.
I,
And
I I have it here. Somebody gifted to me, and I haven't been able to open it yet. So that's my next book then.
yeah, it's a good one, and it's a good reminder. And like even just
Yeah.
the 3 Feet from Gold name of it all is that you're actually a lot closer than you think you are. And
Yeah.
most people give up right at the end, right before the
Mhm.
magic is getting ready to
Mhm.
happen. And it's just you see it happen so often. And so that's just another really good book to just remind you that just keep on swimming, just keep on pushing forward. You're a lot closer than you think you are.
Oh my God, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing to end the podcast. I want to acknowledge you and thank you so much for taking your precious time, because your time is extremely precious, and for you to come here today and just share your experience and your thoughts and your beautiful energy and soul with us. I am grateful. Please say hello to Sunira, to the whole team, and we will see you at your live event for CEO School.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful. Well, Isabella, thank you so very much for having me on today and just really enjoyed this. So thank you for that. And yeah, just appreciate all you're doing and all you're doing for your listeners too. You know, you're changing lives as well, my friend.
thank you so much, Crystal. We'll speak soon.
All
Take
right.
care.
Take
Have
care.
a wonderful day.
Bye.